Unity and cohesion is the theme of the conference, but I think, the conference, started very late, hours after it was scheduled to start, and I think the last we saw glimpses of that unity was just before the adoption of the credentials, whereafter, as you pointed out, we saw those chaotic scenes over Losi, whether in fact she was a legitimate leader and should occupy the position of second deputy president of the federation, and of course the issue of Limusa, whether a union that was formed after the expulsion of NUMSA deserves to be here. But one must say that since then, once those credentials were adopted, things there is now a semblance of normality. And we've just seen Astumo Dlamini giving that opening address as Cosatu president. Things seem to have come down a bit, but I must point out though that Sakau and Fau have actually vowed that they are indeed going to raise a whole range of issues that they believe point to something wrong about this very Congress. Peter?
Vuyo, what was the thrust of Astumo Dlamini's speech a short while ago?
Well, he started by, as you said earlier, talking about that, some would say, conspiracy theory, that there are a group of outsiders, people, the Americans, he specifically mentioned, who are hell-bent on destabilizing the country and on destabilizing Cosatu. Essentially saying the reason Cosatu is where it is today is because money was pumped into certain people, like the coffers of certain people or certain affiliates, precisely to destabilize Cosatu, part of a broader plan to destabilize the country. But he basically blamed everyone and anyone, including the media, including their departed or erstwhile comrades, as well as everyone who simply or who doesn't agree with the current Cosatu leadership's characterization of what went wrong. Whether he's correct or not, I guess remains to be seen. But he blamed everyone short of blaming. In fact, part of the problem would be that he fell short of taking responsibility. And I do think that given everything that has happened, they too have erred here. And he simply refused to take responsibility for some of the problems that are, in fact, of the current leadership's own making.
So Cosatu will now be taking its first steps in a post-Vavi era. They'll be electing a new general secretary, but what is really at stake for the federation in this Congress?
Well, one thing you will have to give the current leadership credit for, even though some of the admissions that they were prepared to make, they are making them reluctantly. And whatever compliments they are prepared to give to anyone who has actually helped them, they are giving those compliments kind of backhandedly. But they have, I think, to some extent, faced the realities that they were supposed to face, even though they may be doing so kicking and screaming in certain instances. One of them is a big problem where money has been involved and money has not been used the way it ought to have been used. They've got their finger on that problem and they seem determined to deal with that problem. The other issue is that they have failed dismally to service their membership, and that you see in resolutions that they have taken years ago that they have not done anything about. That too they are prepared to admit. Where they are failing to admit complicity in the problems is where when it comes to how they as leaders did not show leadership or were keen to basically blame everyone but themselves for that wrongdoing. So hopefully, over the next 2-3 days, they will be prepared to get to that point as well and be prepared to admit to those wrongdoings. And I think they will be on the way to rectifying some of the problems that they too have identified, but including those they have not been able to admit to up until now.
Meanwhile, the battle line